The Everything Sequel podcast is brought to you by 2T Fitness and the Vegas Beer Guys.
The Everything Sequel podcast contains explicit language. You have been forewarned. Hello and welcome to the Everything Sequel podcast. This is the Terminator edition. Today we are pitching sequels. Michael Shantz here of the How Dare You Awards. Joining me, your friend and mine, pitchmaster himself, Tom Stewart of Lonesome Whistle Productions. Hello, Tom.
Time out. Stop the bike.
You're accusing me of needling you in the last episode?
Just going back to the beginning. That's all I wanted to achieve.
Fine. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen.
You expose my vulnerabilities, I'll expose yours.
Turning over my exposed underbelly. Ladies and gentlemen, we are here to pitch sequels to the series that need no more sequels. What do you do with Terminator?
All right. Is that a legitimate question?
Yeah, I mean, I literally was.
Okay, there were
well,
two.
I was going to reframe it as I was trying to remember. The song from West Side Story, or is it West Side? What do you do with a girl like Marie?
That's or
is that just a lyric?
That's a verse of the song.
Okay.
That's like after a middle eight break. But you're thinking of what do you do with a problem? Like, how do you solve a problem? Like Marie.
That's
it.
From that's
Sound
it.
Of Music. But there is like a verse of I think I Feel Pretty. Which is
like, oh right,
Maria. She's going off with this white guy from the Bronx.
Well, when you're trying to jam, American musicals into your Terminator references, they start to get a little jumbled.
Did Tony Kushner rewrite the music as well?
I don't know. Yeah, good question.
So apparently that script needed rewriting. One of the best screenplays Hollywood ever produced. Apparently it needs rewriting by Tony Kushner. Anyway.
Calm down.
Haven't seen it. Cannot comment. Spielberg's overrated.
Wow.
What?
Let's get your propaganda out of here. Just stick to Terminator, would you? Quit besmirching.
Speaking of propaganda.
Quit besmirching the director I grew up with.
Speaking,
not that you're not right. For some movies, you're absolutely right.
It all ended after Sugarland Express. Speaking of propaganda,
yes,
and overrated, I have some listeners feedback.
Oh, excellent!
Remember, we reached out, especially with the Rocky series that we recently did, to say if you have a different opinion about these movies, which we are quite attached to and quite biased about, let us know. And we were vociferous in our dislike of Rocky 5 and equally vociferous in our admiration of Rocky 4, and I have a couple of listener responses that are a sequel inversion of that.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear how wrong somebody is.
Yeah, so I think we got
respectfully,
yeah. So I asked for kind of breakdowns, little mini reviews that they could give us. First of all, on Twitter, Launching the Pilot, which is a podcast. They do TV. They cover TV pilots, old and newish. I asked for, why do you like Rocky 5 so much, and why do you like it more than Rocky 4? And this is what they came back with. Rocky 5, number 1, Back to Roots. Number 2, Conflict with Son. Number 3, Better and More Believable Villain. 4, Street Fight. 5, One More Round. 6, Stolen Glory. 7, Paulie Gets Punched. Open parentheses, no sex robot to save him, close parentheses. And then, followed up by, I like 4, but... Number 1, 50% montage. Number 2, too over the top, like arm wrestling movie, which I presume they mean over the top.
Over the top.
Or just, or arm wrestling movie, or a wrestling movie. It all works. 3, at the end, Russian crowd cheering for Rocky. 4, Paulie's sex robot. 5, Russian leader clapping Rocky. Open parentheses, made me uncomfortable like watching a sex scene with the in-laws. Close parentheses. Nicely done there, launching the pilot. We fundamentally disagree, but you did a good job of selling your case there.
Just fine.
Yeah. And then from a Facebook friend of mine, Dan Hughes, who I've worked with on some film sets over the years, he expressed how much well, I'll just read it out. I actually really liked Rocky 5 on last viewing, except the kid actors, they're awful. What is the most fascinating part of Rocky 5 for me is the real-life comparison between Tommy the Machine Gun and the actor / boxer. You probably don't need the actor in there. Tommy Morrison, who after rising through the ranks quickly, had huge success as a heavyweight boxer. Near the height of his career, began an awful downward spiral of self-destruction which tanked his career and personal life, as well as a loss of his fandom. The other aspect of the film, and Rocky films in general, is the way in which they mirror Stallone's real-life career. We've talked about that many times.
Sure.
I would say that this film shows how he was feeling at the time, where he didn't have a lot of faith in himself and was doing a lot of poor films, and was kind of a shadow of his previous efforts, but he still strives to do better and tries to believe in himself as a serious contender. Perhaps maybe I'm getting too old. I'm getting too old for this shit, but maybe I still have more to give. So, I know all it says about Rocky 4 is that he puts it well above Rocky 4 in terms of quality. So, but he concedes that Rocky 5 is cringeworthy sometimes.
All right.
So,
I mean, I'll take that argument. That was interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, in the previous argument, it's bullet pointed. So when you say something like tension between father and son, yes, as an idea, that's a good idea. Yeah. But its execution, that's something else entirely in my, as far as I'm concerned.
Also, I guess 50% montage or
only in the second half, Tom.
Okay.
Only in the second half is it 50% montage.
I think the last count was 31%.
31.9, I think.
Okay. Oh, it's going up. It's going up. So there we go. Thank you, and please, if you, we'll continue to read out your points of view on the.
Always very exciting.
And I'm sure you have different opinions from us on the Terminator movies. I know we troll how did this get made a little too much, but I want to call this section of the show sequel opinions.
That's great.
Come after me, Paul Scheer,
right?
And then guest on our show.
Yeah, right. Tell us what series
Come
you
on our
want to
show
do.
and tell us how we're misusing your
intellectual property.
Anyway, yeah.
That art is subjective. It's sequel opinions.
There you go.
That's great.
Thank you, Paul Lajoie.
All right. Well, we've stalled long enough.
Yeah.
That leaves us with our task at hand.
Okay, so in answer to your original question, I think there's two ways you can go with this. You can either embrace the series, which is to...
I have to assume you did.
No, not necessarily. No, no.
Okay.
So my bind with this was because my response to the endings of each of these movies is that, you know, the playing field is open.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing commits you to any kind of continuity.
Right.
And yet I always feel like these movies are crying out for something to follow up on
Yeah.
that the movie never gives you. So,
Well, it's funny you
do
say
I
that.
want to introduce the idea of continuity in the series, or do I want to just continue, Etch-a-Sketch, shaking it up, starting all over again?
Right.
And I've tried to do a sequel that does both.
Oh. Well,
So,
I wish you the best of luck with that.
right.
What? Okay. Well, let me
You
ask.
might like it, but for other reasons. Because it also addresses one of your big problems.
Okay. Well, and I mean, did you find it? Was this a difficult task? Did you labor through it once you had your idea? Did it come more easily?
I think within those, it became easier once I thought about it in those parameters.
Mm-hmm.
Because I certainly started with the idea that I wanted to, in Dark Fate we were left with a setup that had somewhere to go, kind of, at least in comparison with the rest of the movies.
Yeah.
And the way they end with like, the future's gonna happen. That every movie just ends with some kind of voiceover that says, the future will happen at some point. That's it. That's all we get. But we got something a bit more solid this time round. So I knew I wanted to run with that. But I knew I also wanted to reinvent as well. Because that's in the spirit of the series, which is worth embracing. Even though, I mean, all of it's futile.
Yeah.
Right? We need to stop making Terminator movies.
Right. More than anything else,
right.
the edict should be.
But the sad irony is that Dark Fate gives us a little more to play with than if we were ending on if we were picking up from Genesis, you could make a movie about cartoon cats and who the fuck would object, right?
Yeah.
It would be, you could put anything in after that.
You
But
could
Dark
call it
Fate's
Terminator Cat.
There's a little more food for thought in Dark Fate, which sort of complicates the issue a little bit, I think. Well,
and I'll tell you, because speaking to what you were just saying, there was a nagging thing for me within the narrative of these movies that made me latch on to what how I wanted to continue. But at the end of the day, that meant I had to make a direct sequel.
Oh.
So I knew I was going to piss you off.
Then.
Huh?
You lose points immediately then.
I know.
No, direct sequels can work. It's just that they haven't, and they're a little bit snooty.
I mean,
they're,
Well, so that's the thing. That's the thing about Dark Fate.
They're looking down their nose at the franchise, which is something we do not like to do on this podcast.
Right. Well, so I don't mind looking down my nose at Terminator 3, Terminator Salvation, and to a lesser extent Terminator Genesis, because I think they're failures.
But they're valuable failures.
All right, fine.
One way or another.
Yeah.
Terminator Salvation showed us, that you can at least you can release a movie without having a movie to release. Right?
Yes.
That's the lesson of that movie.
So, anyway. Yes, I admit that I knew I was going to rile you. But this is where my heart was, Tom.
All right, let's hear it.
You want me to go first then?
Yes, absolutely. Well, with that proposition, absolutely. You've got a lot of explaining to do.
All right. I'm calling my movie Terminator Redemption. I know. I'm asking for a punch in the mouth.
No. I'm almost sad that I didn't go with that title because I did consider it. That would have been the first time that ever happened, right?
Yeah. And
Wow.
it's funny you say that because
So close.
I remember
So close.
thinking, all these Terminator titles they're in this arena, right? They're vaguely or directly biblical. They kind
Oh God, yeah. I hadn't even thought. Oh yeah.
So
I have unconsciously employed that in my pitch. now that you mentioned.
And so I did have this lingering thought of, if you're gonna go for Terminator : or as you would say, colon. There are only so many of those vague words, and I thought to myself, ooh, what if Tom goes redemption?
You are very nearly
and
did.
I was almost right.
Yeah.
All right. We open.
Good start.
Yeah, John Connor is... Well, he's old. All right. I'm going to say John Connor is...
Okay, direct sequel, John Connor is old. It's not a good start.
John Connor is about 29 years old. Okay?
Okay.
We see him. He's alone in a room.
Mm.
The room looks disheveled, dusty, old, abandoned. And we're not quite sure what's happening, where we are. He's looking forlorn. And
Helena Bonham Carter comes in. I still don't know what's going on.
Would you like to donate your body?
Yes. Who are you and who am I?
This is when Sarah Connor walks in the door. Sunshine kind of fills in this abandoned room. And she's saying, what are we doing? We got to go. And he says, yeah. He walks out. We're in a New York winter.
Ooh. He's East Coast.
We're taking it East Coast, Tom. I like the idea of changing locations. I also like the idea of winter as opposed to always the dry heat of a desert.
Right. Nice.
She walks out, and John's left alone. He's kind of, starts picking through his bag. We see the picture of Sarah Connor that we know so well. Yeah. And then we see a picture of a young woman we don't know at all. He puts his bag over his shoulder. He's got the picture in his hand. He walks out the door. He's looking at the picture, and she can tell something's off. She says, "Are you okay?" And he says, "Sure. Where are we headed?" She says, "We got to go into the city." Cut to, we're going to see, hole open up in the sky. Arnie comes out. He gets his clothes.
Somehow.
Well, somehow, yeah. We got a T-800 coming out. He's going to get his clothes from some street toughs. And sky opens up, T-1000. And I'm talking T-1000 Robert Patrick comes out.
Oh, God. I shouldn't have let you go first.
You're Well, I was almost afraid to say it because I thought you'd be mad, but now I'm starting to think that you're doing the same thing, which is hysterical.
It's go on.
All right. So when we see Robert Patrick, he's gonna be, true to form. He is, of course, going to attack a New York police officer, and he's gonna get his New York police officer uniform, and then we'll get a long shot. And we see some more static electricity in the sky.
Oh, a third.
Well, it could just be a storm, Tom.
Okay.
but it's not. It's a third.
That is the third. Yeah, when you see lightning in a Terminator movie, I mean, there's only one thing it can be, right?
So we've got our Terminators. Oh, I did have a line of dialogue from the Street Toughs on Arnie where they say, something to the effect of, doesn't look like he's too cold, huh? Because we're in the winter.
Arnie would approve that dialogue.
You know Arnold would like that line.
I want to bit about my penis.
So you're saying I have big junk. I like it. We go back to John and Sarah. They're getting in the car. She can see now that he's got the picture in his hand, and she says, don't even think about it. And he says, I want to see her. And she says, we have to stay focused, John. And so now we're getting the crux of their relationship right now, where he's saying, I mean, do we? We've already changed everything, Mom. Mm. And she said, we did what we did, but that doesn't mean we're in the clear. I mean, we put Cyberdyne, we burned Cyberdyne down to the ground, but they're still a company. They still exist. Mm. And she says, we need to go. So they stop, and they're across the street from a bank, and this is where they're headed to. Mm-hmm. In this moment, they're inside the car. They start arguing again. John brings this up. I mean, we destroyed 2 Terminators, all of Dyson's work. We brought Cyberdyne down to the ground. I feel like we're just running in one place. And everywhere we go, we're wanted by the law. I think we should be out of the United States again. We shouldn't be in the United States. This isn't where we belong.
Let's go to the beach.
Yeah.
What could possibly happen to me there?
Well, the crux of it, he's saying, I need my own life away from you. I'm a 29-year-old man living with his mother.
Yeah.
And clearly he gave something up that was important to him for his mother. Mm-hmm. And what he gave up was this idea of, you're John Connor, you're the savior. You have to be the one that survives. John says, you know what? I don't want this. I'm leaving. He starts, running away. He runs around a corner, and lo and behold, who does he see? T-800. Mm. He's not sure what to think, but you have that instant recognition of the robot I came to know, love, and trust.
Yeah, my snowman.
My snowman doesn't know what to do, turns around, sees the T-1000. So he turns back towards the T-800, who raises his, gun right at John's face. Sarah tackles him, says, get down. The shot that the T-800 fires hits the T-1000. John can look and see that the T-1000 is hit. He's saying, oh, fuck. And the next thing you know, they're both converging on them. Sarah gets up, starts, has a machine gun at the ready. She starts shooting the T-800. The T-1000 is barreling down on John, and out comes second T-800 Arnie. So we've got 2 Arnies, 1 T-1000, and this will bother you a lot. He's gonna take the T-1000. He's gonna disarm him
in slow motion.
No,
I'm trying to figure out what will bother me.
Yeah. Oh, this is what's gonna bother you. He's gonna disarm him. We're gonna do. Obviously we're mirroring that T2 scene. They're gonna start fighting, but right before that, he's gonna turn to the 2 humans and say, "Get them out of here if you want to live." So we have a variation.
I mean, why stop now,
So John takes off.
Tradition.
Yeah.
That's a tradition.
John takes off around the corner. He's going to the car. She says, no, we got to go to the bank. So they run to the bank.
What's in the bank?
Well, hang on.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
The commotion, the shots fired, have gathered all attention.
Uh-huh.
The people in the bank have locked the door. Sarah dropped her gun, got rid of it. She's knocking on the door and saying, please let us in. We're not we're not safe. So they open the door for them. They go in, and the next thing you know, Sarah's saying, "I need to go to a safety deposit box," and they're like, "Wait, what? Like, what are you talking about?" Anyway, she pulls another gun out of her bag. She says, "Let's do this right now." They go to the safety deposit box. She gets something out of the box, and now we're off to the races.
Okay.
Now, I mean, I couldn't decide, like, in this moment, is it the sort of thing where they get caught by the cops? Do we do that? Or do we have that frame of reference again? But essentially, we're on the run.
Right.
So my initial idea was they're caught, but, you know, Sarah pulls some Sarah shenanigans. Like, say they're in the back of, you know, like a SWAT truck.
Yeah.
Sarah pulls some shenanigans that whatever it is, say it's a small explosive, Tom, something to puncture a hole in the truck, flip it over, ruin the tires. When they get out, lo and behold, who's there? The woman in John's picture. So Sarah's saying, you know, what the hell is she doing here? John's saying, we really don't have time for this. Off we go. Now, good Arnie is going to catch up to them. He's the one that's going to pick them up.
Right.
T-800, T-1000 are in pursuit. We're going to have all the set pieces that we need. Obviously, this is going on too long. So what we're going to find out is...
It's okay.
What we're going to find out is... So the lingering piece of narrative I was referring to earlier, the one thing that's always stuck with me about Terminator 2 is they didn't destroy everything, Tom. Arnie's arm got stuck.
Should have gone first.
And oh no. Well,
carry on.
I'm glad we're of like minds if your story's going there, but
no.
So Arnie's arm was stuck in that piece of Rube Goldberg shenanigans.
Yeah.
And he left back
the boiler room.
Yeah, the boiler room.
That every film's ends in.
He left an arm. And so the idea is similar to other Terminator movies in the sense of Skynet happens, it's just on a longer timeline. They didn't have the computer chip, they just had the arm. Yes, that Cyberdyne building was burned to the ground and, you know, the lead guy died, but it's not like nobody else worked there. Somebody picked up the mantle. Somebody moved on. Now, all right. I'll admit that this is the weakest part of my story. I can't decide because of what happens in Terminator 2. Basically, in the bank vault, what I wanted was... What has been left for Sarah Connor there are essentially blueprints of a weapon that would be far more effective against Terminators in this time. It was something that Cyberdyne had been working on and Dyson had been working on. So what I couldn't decide is, because, I mean, it really is a bit of a like before they left for Cyberdyne, is it like Joe Morton was on a computer, writing, like he recognized the existential threat, so he was willing to go with them, but that the threat was so severe that if we fail, this is something that might work. If you two survive this is something that might work down the line. So that was my initial idea. He left those instructions with his wife. Over the years, the wife was in contact with Sarah Connor. And Sarah had been saying something to the effect of, we're in the States again. We're on the East Coast. There's something not right. And so this is what was left in the safety deposit box by his wife is the way, Okay. So that way it would be... Huh?
Who's the girl?
The girl is somebody John had met in the intervening 20 years that Sarah said, you can't have a relationship like other people.
I see. Right.
Because everybody you come in contact with is in jeopardy. You have one thing to do with
animal hospital.
No animal hospitals.
And she does emergency call-outs at 3 a.m.
Yeah, no.
For a cat.
But my idea was making it. Her name's just Kate, but so John, upon knowing that he was coming to the States, had contacted her, had said, the only thing I know is we're going to be in this area at this time. She just happened upon, she was near the scene when all the commotion started. So that's why she was able to, follow them to that point. And so the whole idea behind this story is that John, according to Sarah, has to survive. John, until the moment he starts seeing Terminators, is thinking, I am doing all of this for nothing. Because we did everything we had to do to stop Skynet. The woman, by the way, woman of color, Kate, she wanted to meet John because she could never understand why he said bye.
Yeah.
And what's going to end up happening in this story is the four of them, Arnie, Sarah, John, Kate, they all have to work together in order to take care of these two Terminators. One of the things they need in order to, like, Sarah could use these blueprints, put this thing together, but the one thing they need is a power source. Terminator 3, Tom. I got it. You got to take it out of Arnie's chest. One of those little.
Oh, okay, good.
One of those things comes in handy as the power source. Essentially, it's a plasma rifle that we've seen in the future shots many times in this movie. But what's going to end up happening is Sarah's going to die to protect John. John's going to die to protect Kate. John's going to say, I don't have to be the one. Anybody can be the one. I'm going to need you to be the one. And so then you have a new one. A woman of color. That is Terminator Redemption.
Who's being redeemed?
Well, in my mind, it's the idea of John having to be the one.
Yeah.
It's the idea of transference.
Okay.
You know? Does that make sense?
All right. Yeah. It's a very thorough pitch.
Thank you.
Well,
I'm very interested.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay, so my pitch is called Terminator 2 Timelines.
Okay.
No Colin or Colin Powell. And so we're essentially picking up from the end of Dark Fate. Sarah Connor and Danny have gone to
Oh, well, sorry. Go ahead.
What? No.
No, it just went back to mine because you were I said the act of transference, but the idea of redemption, because part of redemption, you could be saved from sin, you could be saved, from evil, you could be saved from your own error. And the error is thinking that one person has to be the savior. So that was my idea behind it. Anyway.
Okay. So
I just thought I should be more clear.
Sarah Connor,
go ahead,
and Danny, are visiting Carl's widow, and they're telling her what happened before they go off on their life of Terminator hunting. And before Sarah leaves, Carl's widow gives him a rosary. And she says, "Oh, thank you." And he says, "It's not from me; it's from Carl. He wanted you to have this." And she looks on the tag, and she sees like it's from a church in, a mission in downtown LA. And we zoom in to the rosary and flash back to 1992. And where a highly religious salvage worker, let's call him Ned, is... I just remember that Ned Flanders. Okay, let's Ned is fine, but that's why I thought Ned, because of Ned Flanders. He's distributing church literature whilst on a salvage operation of a metalworks in LA, which we vaguely recognize as the Rube Goldberg metalworks from Terminator 2.
Yes.
And his boss is getting on his back saying, "Hey, this is salvage, not salvation. Do your, save your souls on your own time." As they finish the salvage operation, they're leaving that night. He encounters a man who appears to be suffering from amnesia. He's completely naked. However, we know him as T-1000. Who, after having been melted in the molten pit of the metalworks, has now solidified into one form.
Oh.
Which is the form of Robert Patrick, the cop who he played throughout Terminator 2. He is now only capable of being in that form. He can't change into anything else.
Interesting. Oh, I like that.
So Ned takes him back to his house because he's a good Christian man and an evangelical. So he's there to help this guy out.
Can he still form stabbing stuff or
no? Nothing.
Nothing. Okay.
He's whatever he is. He's forged into whatever he is by the metal, by the liquid metal. Takes him home and as far as the T-1000 knows, he's just I don't know who I am. I don't recognize myself. I don't understand anything.
So the circuits were fried? Does liquid metal have circuits? I don't even know.
Well, whatever's happened, like he doesn't understand what he is or who he is.
All right.
He has a consciousness, but that's it. And so Ned takes him back to his house, and they see on as he turns the TV on, and he sees that his photos all over the news, mass murder, this mass murderer, this guy posing as a cop who's been murdering people for the last few days. But Ned and T-1000 sees that it's him. He understands that it's him. He says, "I have no memory of doing this." And Ned sort of says, "Well, I could hand you into the police, or I could give you another chance at life." Takes him to his church. He goes to the priest and says, "You once took a chance on me. I was a hopeless addict, and you redeemed me, and can we give this guy, can you do the same for this guy? He doesn't remember who he is. He doesn't have whatever he had. The demon in him is gone." He says, "Can you let him work and live here? Give him a second chance." The priest agrees, and we see a kind of time lapse of like 2-3 decades when Robert Patrick remains in that same role. Over the years, the priest gets him an ID. the priest gets him an idea of a man that he found, like a man that he found dead on the streets, and he said, this guy
Wow, this priest.
this guy had
picking pockets for IDs, eh?
Yeah, he said this guy has no family. It says you can live and you can take his life and have a real second chance. Eventually, that priest dies.
I look like that mass murderer officer, but I'm actually...
Well, he knows he's a mass murderer, but he's choosing to believe he can change.
Okay.
Rather than, sending him to his death, to his execution. Then when that priest dies, he leaves it in his will that T-1000 has to work at, has to, still be employed and be able to live at the church. And so we catch up to 2019. We've circled all the way back, and now Sarah Connor and Danny are in their Jeep outside this church, which is where the rosary was from. And Danny says, well, what's going on? What's going on? Why are we here? And Sarah said, I don't know. It's probably nothing, but I just wanted to check this place out. She sees the face of the T-1000. And who's now, aged to the age Robert Patrick would be in 2019.
Nice.
Because he's solidified in his state and he's aged in the way a T-800 would. He doesn't recognize her, obviously. He doesn't even really see her in the Jeep. Robert Patrick's going out at night doing his... Sorry, T-1000's going out at night doing his homeless shelter work under a bridge in downtown LA.
So you really were drawn in by the dark fate idea of a Terminator changing over time.
Absolutely, yeah. I think that's where this is coming from.
Yeah.
Unbeknownst to him, Sarah Connor is up on the top of the bridge with her anti-Terminator weapon, and she blows him apart. He, it combusts into flames. She gets back in the Jeep and heads off. However, this has now had the reverse effect.
Yes, I knew
It's turned him back into liquid metal. So we get the shot of him coming out of the flames as the liquid metal original 1991 T-1000. Right. But what's happened? So he's now he's reset his programming. He's like, I have to kill John Connor, and then he goes into his his memory banks, and he finds out John Connor is already dead, and so his programming starts to break down because now he has no mission, and he starts to melt back into liquid metal. But T-1000 has lived all this time, and he's like, no, I want to live. I want to achieve. I have free will. I'm not. So he's fighting against this programming, and he turns into liquid metal, but one piece of his liquid metal gets a cell phone that's on the ground, hooks itself up to the internet. So now the T-1000 is part of the internet. He's interconnected to every piece of technology via the internet in America and around the world. He's connected to all the technologies in the world. And he reforms.
I get how technology works. Condescend to me.
I sent an email to New Zealand the other day. So he reforms as this kind of super internet now, super Wi-Fi signal T-1000. And his programming resets itself, and so John Connor is now dead. So you should be deactivated. Your mission is over. But he says, he's like, but I want a workaround. So his workaround is he has to go back in time and kill John Connor, and then he'll be free, and then his programming will be done, and he can continue to live his life. So he goes into his internet view.
Okay, go ahead.
No, carry on, yeah.
No, well, because I realized that
I believe this might have some holes.
No, I realized I was wrong, because we're, of course, after everything of Dark Fate having happened.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
In my mind, I was thinking maybe he would, his next logical next step would be to kill the Terminator that killed John Connor. So maybe he could go after Carl, but I thought
that's good too.
Carl's dead, so
that's good too.
Yeah.
That's a good note. So he finds out that a time machine is being developed by Miles Dyson's son, who's now developing
nice.
time travel technology.
Cherry picking.
Yeah, he's developing time travel technology against the wishes of his father to ensure that if anything goes wrong with Skynet or machines in the future, it can be corrected. So he's inventing a time machine for that to happen. However, the T-1000
well, it could be more personal than that too, like to have Dad back.
Right. Jumps straight into the time machine, going to the exact moment where the T-800 killed John Connor. We see him leave, but then we cut to Sarah and Danny, who have gone to the spot where John Connor was killed on the anniversary of his death, whatever year it is, however many years it's been. And as she sat there, Danny goes to the restroom, but John comes back, and the world around her is changing. And she starts to she's thinking, oh, I'm hallucinating. I'm seeing this grown John, the man who would be, but it stays there, and she can't shake it off. Sometimes she thinks it's Danny, and then it turns back. So the timelines are in flux for a second. And then John. So we have grown man John. And Sarah tries to explain to him that I'm in the middle of two timelines. In my timeline, you were killed when you were young. Now you're here. Something must have changed the timelines. And I'm caught between these two timelines. She says, I know it's difficult to believe. And John says, no, it's not actually difficult to believe, Mom. We already changed the future twice. Okay, so this idea of an alternate timeline is fine. I totally accept it. Takes her back to her hotel room. And of course, there is Carl waiting for them. And Sarah doesn't know what to think. And she thinks that Carl is there to attack because she doesn't know what happened in this timeline. But John says, yeah, in our, you realize that he's friendly. Says in our timeline, he tried to kill me, but he was thwarted, and we reprogrammed him. Because the other Terminator left behind a way to reprogram a Terminator and make it pacify it as a threat and make it your friend.
So you close that question loop for the whole series.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And but then we flash back to 1998 and we see the T-1000 coming in to try and kill John Connor at exactly the same time that the T-800 is coming in to kill John Connor. So that he ends up killing the T-1000, the T-800, thinking that he's there to help John Connor and save him. But they don't. But John Connor and Sarah get away at the last minute, and then the T-1000 murders everyone in the bar, like with his liquid knives. But because he's in the past, he's no longer connected to the internet. And he goes back into this one shape. Like he's back into basically human form again. And he goes back to modern day Robert Patrick.
But he couldn't...
Robert Patrick from that Walking Dead episode where he was twins,
but wouldn't he still be able to be liquid though? No.
Because I'm saying he's not.
Okay, fine.
There's no reason why. It's just because I'm saying he's not.
All right.
So he's back to the state. He gets taken to prison, put on death row for for many years, and then we're back in 2020.
I'd like to see what happens when he's electrocuted.
Exactly. It might reverse that process. You never know. Seems to be a lot of reversing of processes here. And Carl's explaining that, what happened, and he still has footage of what he saw when the Terminator when Robert Patrick came after him. and he's identified a frequency, the time travel frequency that he came in on, and he's been trying to work it out for years. I mean, he's not Carl, he's got none of Carl's experiences. He's just like a grown-up Terminator. But he says, but it's like he's using he's using time travel technology from this period. So if we can jump to a different part of the timeline,
oh, my
we
goodness.
can stop stuff from happening. And then obviously Sarah Connor's like, I have, John is alive. Why would I want to reset this timeline? And Carl T-800 sort of tells her that the future of this new alternate timeline is that the T-1000 is going to merge with internet technology, and that's how Skynet's going to happen. And lo and behold, scheduled for execution, Robert Patrick turns back into the T-1000 liquid metal when he's electrocuted. So the rest of the movie is basically Sarah's dilemma over, do I reset the timeline?
The rest of the movie?
Yeah. Lose my son.
Because it sounds like we're about 2.5 hours in already.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where do I give up? Basically, do I give up my son, or for the future of mankind, or do I stay in this timeline and let the future of mankind take its chances?
That I like.
So that is Terminator 2 timelines. And because there's no colon,
Terminator
you can go
2 timelines.
Because there's no colon, you can be Terminator 2 timelines or Terminator 2 timelines. It's up to you. That's my pitch, everyone.
That's delicious. There are some great ideas in that.
Yeah, I thought you'd be pleased with the reintroduction of Robert Patrick.
So much so, I did it myself.
As a developed character.
Yeah.
But this way he gets to be the original, and because I mean, I thought if they've got the capability of digitally de-aging Robert Patrick as the liquid metal Terminator, let's have some of that too.
Mm-hmm.
But he can go back and forth between that and modern day Robert Patrick in that Walking Dead episode where he's twins.
Right.
Look.
Good times.
Yeah, it's fun.
All right. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen.
Woo.
You've heard our pitches. What are yours? We're starting to get some more pitches lately, Tom. I like that.
Yeah.
So, or at least either pitches or telling us why we're wrong about certain movies.
In the latest poll for the Rocky series, do you know which of our pitches is winning?
Oh, no.
Well, on Twitter, Rocky Goes to Heaven is winning. Which makes me think we're doing something wrong.
Right.
If our least developed pitch. Do you think that's just people sort of going, it's the shortest?
Yeah, I think it's the one that makes them chuckle, because at least he's dead. They're like, I'll go for that one.
It's the most realistic of the bunch.
Yeah. Oh, that's good stuff. The least developed one. That's amazing. All right, ladies and gentlemen. We will put a poll in the field, won't we, Tom?
We certainly will.
Yeah. You're going to have to vote on these or add one to put in the poll.
Yeah.
And then we'll resubmit if necessary. So find us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. Send that email to everythingsequel@gmail.com for Pitchmaster himself, Tom Stewart, Michael Shantz here of the How Dare You Awards. Sorry, Tom. Tom's from Lonesome Whistle Productions.
What did you say I was from?
I didn't say anything.
What did you say about me?
Good stuff. All right. You'll be hearing an entire new series the next time you hear us. Say goodbye, Tom.
Those assholes never learn. Boy, don't they.
That could so easily be us.
Yeah, true. All the makers of the Terminator franchise.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, until next time.